everyone, and welcome to Making Miracles Happen. We are in our health edition. I have a little bit different background, so you wouldn't know either way. But we're going to be talking about health today in a completely different way. I think this is the first healer I am actually interviewing today that's just about solid healing, straightforward. What's wrong with you? Let's fix it. So I've known this person for a very, very long time, but I'm going to let her introduce herself and tell us what she does. So welcome to the show.
Hi, everybody. I'm Shannon Leischner. I am what they call a spiritual catalyst, which means that I help people find their path. And I do a lot of different things. But since we're talking about healing, we'll talk about the healing part of it. I have the ability to go energetically inside people's bodies and to see what's going on. So if they have an issue, let's say with their stomach or whatever, it's so funny because our bodies actually talk to us. We just have to tune in to the right frequency. So if someone's having trouble with their stomach, I can actually go to the stomach, and the stomach will give me images, and it'll start telling me what's wrong. It may even say dad, which is a big one for a lot of people. And so the other thing that I can do is I can go into the brain and help to create new neural pathways to where we can stop these unhealthy cycles that we seem to create for ourselves. And a lot of that has to do with past lives, and it has to do with this life as well.
Yeah, it's interesting that you even bring up the whole idea of the body parts communicating. Do you remember way back in the day when I used to do Playboy Radio? Did we know each other back then?
Yes.
And I would talk to vaginas.
Yes.
And they do have their words or their phrases or their sentences. So it's very fascinating to talk to somebody, because I don't know if I've actually had this conversation with anybody else, that they actually talked body parts. I don't know if you talk to vaginas or not, but you can, right?
Yeah.
If there's a problem there, your vagina is going to talk. So what are some other things that you get from body parts that have something to say? Because this is probably new for a lot of people.
We have a part in our brain called the amygdala, which is the fight or flight part, but it's also the place where our brains store our trauma. So if someone is having a lot of trauma, or they're having PTSD, or they're dealing with a lot of anxiety, depression, that type of thing, I can go to the amygdala, and the amygdala will tell me exactly what's going on. But if you want to talk about actual body parts, I mean, people's knees have issues, and I usually get pictures of relationships that people don't want to get out of. Their back, family members that they're just taking all of the grunt of the weight of the family. And I mean, each part of our body represents something else, right?
I feel like people are going to listen to this and be like, I have back problems. And yeah, I do that. Like, is there any other body parts that you know for sure, like, represents this or that comes up?
Well, with the back and the shoulders, I know a lot of people have a lot of tightness in the shoulders, and that's usually, I mean, just think about somebody piggybacking on your back. You're carrying your family members, which means you're taking on their worries, you're taking on their issues, and if it's not your family members, you're taking on everyone else's issues, which is what a lot of empaths do, right?
Yeah. As we know.
So, yeah. You start
as we've done. I'm sure. How did you get into this?
Well, I have you to thank for that, right?
Yay!
So I was actually born this way, to be able to speak to spirits, be able to, I intuitively knew things. And way back when, I actually met you at a psychic fair before all of this stuff started happening.
Which I still don't remember.
I know, but it's so strange. But we talked for a while. And then we kind of separated out, and then I got really sick, and I had a heart condition and was given a year to live. And you had texted me out or emailed me out of the blue.
I was told to find you and email you, even though I didn't remember who you were. That's the weirdest part. Yeah.
Yeah, it was crazy. And you were like, I don't know, but we need to meet. And you were in Sacramento, and I was in LA. And I am not that type of person where I'm just going to drop everything and go. But I did. I dropped everything. And that weekend we met, and I took my kids, and you and I were sitting in the water park while the kids were playing. And you looked at me and you're like, so when are you going to die? And we just started.
I said that to you.
Yeah. But it was, I mean, at that point I was given a year to live. So, I mean, it was pretty serious at that moment. And then you said, I'm gonna help you, and you did. I mean, you helped me start getting started in this whole career, because beforehand, I mean, I've always wanted to do this. I've always been able to. But beforehand, I was a professional. I did what people expected of me. I had a master's degree. I had a business consulting. I had a nonprofit. I was a professional, but I was miserable. I didn't want to be a professional. I wanted to be this, but I didn't want to be this with the flashing light saying psychic, psychic, psychic. And no, I didn't want any of that. And I think I told you that I wanted to be professional. I didn't want to be on the street corner reading into some crystal ball. Not that that's a bad thing, but it had to be a professional thing, and it had to be something that was bigger.
I think we both had that same aversion, so I completely understood that, because I was like, I don't really want to shop on the corner that says psychic and with the crystal ball.
Yeah.
No, thank you. Yeah.
I can't even sit in psychic fairs, and then not that there's anything wrong with that, but it just is not, it's not where I need to be for me professionally.
I think nowadays it might be a little bit different than it used to be. I used to love them because of meeting the other psychics, and then meeting the new people, and then getting up on stage and holding a presentation. Like, all of that was so much fun, but I couldn't imagine doing that now.
Yeah.
Which is really interesting that you're just like, no.
I mean, I did it in the beginning. I guess we all pay our dues, right? We all start there, and we do it.
When did you start doing psychic fairs?
I did it a long time ago. I don't do it anymore.
Really?
Yeah. I only do it by invitation. Like, some people will invite me to come and speak, and I'll go, but I don't hold the booth. I don't do any of that kind of stuff anymore. I just can't.
So how do people reach out to you and like get a session with you? Is it over the phone? Did it used to be in person before this all happened?
Well, the great thing is I actually prefer over the phone more than anything. I have clients all over the world, and I actually don't even want to see them, because some people say, oh, psychics look for tells. I don't look for tells. I look for pure energy. So if you're over the phone, you have no tells. It's just, what do they call that? It's like straightforward reading. You don't have any background information. It's just pure energy.
And it's, it's really natural for a psychic. And just to clarify, you are a psychic and a healer.
Yes.
So, as a psychic, I always tell my clients, they're like, but I want to see you in person. I'm like, look, we're human. And as a human, I'm going to look at you, and I'm going to look at the ring on your finger and be like, oh, she's married. As a human, we're going to judge each other based on how your hair is, what color you're wearing. That's not the right color for her. This is the right color. There's judgments that come in. There's perceptions that come in immediately. And it's like, when you're over the phone, none of that gets in the way. Like, you get to remove the whole human aspect 100%.
And they can actually be laying down in their bed, in their pajamas, the most comfortable that they can be. And actually, the more comfortable they are, the more information comes, the more energy flows. If they're uptight, sitting in front of us going, is my dress too tight? And, I'm kind of uncomfortable. Is she looking at me? Can she see my soul? All of that kind of stuff. It just gets in the way.
I didn't think about that as far as like the comfort level of the person that you're reading or doing a healing for. So that's a completely different insight that I think will help people who want to do in person. And they're all about, can that person really do it long distance? Like, right now, number one, we don't really have a choice at this point to do things long distance. But that other aspect of, I don't have to get dressed. I don't have to get my hair and makeup on. I can just lay here and be comfortable and get this done, is kind of attractive.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And I don't have to drive. I don't have to be in traffic. I don't have to find a quiet place for us to do this. It's already all provided.
Yeah, and then you can meet with anybody anywhere in the world that you want to meet with. You don't have to go try to get a flight for somebody who's in another country. Because you did say you have clients all over the world, right?
I do. Yeah, I do.
So can you get a little bit more into, so we were talking about how you got into this, and you mentioned me, but then what did you do after that?
So I always used to say, I'm not a healer. I'm only a psychic medium. I mean, that used to be my thing. I'm only a psychic medium. And I was presenting at a conference, and this woman had come. It was pouring down rain in Thousand Oaks, which means it's mud everywhere. But she had driven over an hour to come and see me present. And she came to me and she said, my guides told me that you're going to heal me. I have stage 4 cancer. And I went, you got the wrong person, because I don't heal. At least that's what I was thinking at that point. We became friends after that, and I referred her to someone who I knew was an excellent healer. And so I sat in on one of their sessions one time, and I work with angels, and obviously, and so Michael is standing behind my friend while he's doing a session on her, and Michael looks at me and says, "Are you just going to sit there?" And I went, "Oh yeah, this is what I do. I'm providing the space. That's all I'm doing." And he shot me a memory of all the lifetimes that I've ever healed and how to do it. And he said, now get to work. You've got some work to do. So I don't know how to do anything, right? All I know is I need to shoot energy. So I start shooting energy, and my friend screams. He's like, "What are you doing? I can't handle this. And this is too much." And that's kind of how I got my feet wet. And then probably a couple months later, you called me and said, "You need to check out this theta healing thing." And I was like, well, I'm not really a healer, but I'll try it, because I needed some steps. I needed to know how to do what I was doing, because I actually made myself sick. That night, the lady passed a tumor. She actually went to the bathroom and the tumor came out, which was amazing. Unfortunately, it was her time, and she she called me to cross her over at one point in time, which was another story. But I learned at that moment, a lot of healers, they'll recycle energy, or even massage therapists. They think that they need to cycle energy. The problem is that you absorb it at that moment. And I didn't know that at that moment. I was just cycling energy. So now I've learned that you push the energy through and you let it pass outside the back of somebody instead of bringing it to you. But I needed those steps. And when you had said, try this theta healing thing, again, I dropped everything and actually went to your house and stayed over your house while I went to theta healing. And so it gave me the basis.
My memory. I'm just like, oh, I forgot about that. This is a nice reconnection. I get to remember my memories.
It's so crazy.
Cool. That's right.
Yeah. What's so crazy is after theta healing, the angels started to be more interactive with me, and they started teaching me different methods, and not only teaching me, but I started remembering. And every couple months I was getting a new gift, and it's still happening. Every 4 months I get a new ability, and I go, I don't know what to do with this one, and so I have to kind of practice and figure it out. So
how do you surrender to this? Because the other thing that I'm remembering that I either didn't know or forgot, one or the other, is that we both had aversions to the whole psychic on the corner. We both had this whole thing about, I'm not a healer. Like I started out going to college to be a healer, to only say I am not a healer for years. And then finally, surrendering to that because I didn't really have a choice. So how do you surrender to something you keep saying you're not and you think you don't want?
It's so funny, because I actually, at this point, I learned I had to surrender to the universe, right? There was a moment in my life I was trying to control everything. I, was going to control my relationship, and I was going to control my life, and I was going to have control, which actually made me even more out of control. And so there was a moment I just said, okay, Creator, whatever I'm supposed to do, whatever my path here is in this life and where I'm supposed to be, as long as it's in the highest and best, most loving good, then I'm there. And that was the best moment of my life, because it was like I just released all what I was supposed to be and allowed for the universe to show me what I am. And that really became super powerful.
Now, how can we use that information, that being able to surrender to who you really are, to help with positive body consciousness and health and healing? Like, how do we use that information?
My feeling is that the more we fight, we fight the world and the more we fight life, the more stress we put on our body, the more things we start stuffing inside. And you know about stuffed energy. Stuffed energy only creates illness, right? So the more we stuff and the more we try and just be in control of it, I think the worse we become. Not only angry and anxious, but then, you know, our body starts breaking down because it's being attacked by our own energy, by our own stuff that we're letting go of. So if we actually were able to let it go and just release it, how free would our bodies be? We're no longer in the prison of our expectations. We're allowing for limitless possibilities.
Mm. How do you use that as a tip for people? Like, is there something they can do? Is there an exercise? Is there a specific belief? Like, what do you recommend for people who are watching this? Like, I want to get in on this. I want to jump in and start feeling different.
Well, the one thing that theta healing taught me was we can slow down our brain waves, because when we're in beta, we're in constant reactionary mode. You know, how can we heal anything when we're reacting and stressed out? So if we can actually learn to slow down our brain waves, and even on my YouTube, I have a 7th healing, maintaining and achieving a theta brainwave. And it's a 3-minute meditation that actually trains your brain to be in theta mode. And that's, I mean, part of what we were talking about earlier was I'm going to be gifting my healing CD, and it just trains the brain to be in theta. And if we can be wide awake and in theta, which is the, you know, the deeper sleep type brainwave, our body thinks that we're asleep and it begins to heal and it begins to release, even though we're wide awake. So that, I think that would be the best way, is to begin to start with the brain waves.
Which is so powerful. That's a powerful tool and technique for people to use. Anything that happens in theta is pretty amazing. That and delta, but the theta is like, that's a miracle. Yes. That's the miracle brainwave that people need to tap into and get into. So I'm glad you're going to be giving that away to people today. I was going to ask you about your gift, but I think we've already covered that. Is there anything else you want to say about that gift?
Well, the healing CD was actually created quite some time ago from a friend. Well, actually, it was my wording, my guiding, my everything. And then I had a friend of mine who was an amazing musician, and he was very connected to the angelic realm. So the wonderful thing about the healing CD is that it's got the angelic energy on one layer. Another layer is the clearing and all of the things that happen when we're going through the CD. And then the next layer is the actual guiding. So I guide you through certain scenarios. And then there's a part in there, and we had created it where when you listen to it, it automatically creates a theta state. So there's, it's 3 to 7 cycles per second. And so you've got, when you shift the, I'm trying to think of the hertz between the two sides of your brain, the brain goes into theta. So I had learned that during this whole process. So the actual CD itself will put you into theta right when you start. And so
that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
So everybody, all you're going to have to do is scroll down a little bit on this page right here, and you're going to be able to get that free gift for the next 24 hours, which is amazing. So don't forget to scroll down, putting your name, putting your email address to get that gift so that you can start healing immediately, right away, right now. My last question for you is, when we're talking about healing and health, and I want to kind of give people an idea as far as being a healer goes, like how easy is it for them to heal? Do they just come to you? Do you just magically heal them? Is there any work they have to do along the way? Like, how do we use this, use this modality and use healers to heal our physical bodies and our mental bodies and emotional, spiritual bodies?
I truly believe that I'm a facilitator, which means I don't do all of the work. I can help provide the platform for it, but the person needs to be ready and needs to be able and willing to do the work in order to create it. We can create instantaneous clearings, But if there's old patterns, old cycles that the person goes through, then we need to reset those cycles. We need to create new cycles. So I give homework, let's call it. So I always give recommendations. Okay, now that we've done this, I need you to do this so that we can go to the next step. If you've got years and years and years of trauma, yes, we can help relieve that almost immediately, relieve the surface, but you've got to keep going deeper and deeper and deeper into the levels. It's kind of like an onion. You got to keep peeling it until you get to the sweet spot. And so yes, it's both of us working. It's walking together. It's creating that partnership to really have some deep healing.
Now, at times when I do healing, and I kind of just want to get your take on this, because not all healers, do healing the same way. Not all of us feel the same way. Not all of us agree on stuff. So just interested in getting your take on this. But when you do a healing on somebody and they're not doing anything, they're just laying there in their bed in their pajamas, as you have said, and you are like, okay, here's what's going on. This is what I see. I'd like to clear this. Are there times where they don't really have to do anything to heal, or are they always an active participant in that healing?
So I'm glad that you asked that, because there are moments where they're just ready to let it go and their body just releases it as we're doing it. So they still are working with us, but there are times that they're just laying there and it's just letting go because it's been forever and they just need to let it go. And then there are moments where, I gotta ask them, what's going through your mind right now? Let's talk about what's going through your mind so that we can go to the next step. I did have an occasion where she wasn't even my client. So I teach martial arts, and one of my students, 24 years old, had a stroke. And when she had a stroke, she found out that she was stage 4 cancer and she was given a year to live. And she came to me and she's like, I need to pass your class. Can you just pass me? She goes, I want to graduate before I die. And so I told her, read Theta Healing book and I'll pass you. We'll just talk about it and I'll pass you. And she called me irate. She was like, I don't believe in this psychic stuff. I don't believe in this healer stuff. I believe in God. And so we had a conversation. I said, did you read the book? Because it's all about God. Theta healing is all about connecting to Creator. And so long story short, I actually gave her a demonstration and I tapped in. And as soon as I tapped in, I said, your father is living with you, isn't he? And she was just so shocked that I could even look at that. And I said, you've been sick ever since he got there, correct? And she said, every time I see him, I tell him how much I hate him.
Oh.
And I went, okay, well, we need to heal that. Can I help take away that hatred, that anger energy? And she went through her little fit and she's like, I've been in counseling and nobody in years have ever been able to do that. And I said, well, you have nothing to lose. And if you go through this with me, you pass the class. So, so 2 minutes later, I go
to heal. Oh my
exactly. God. It's free healing and you pass, So 2 minutes later, and I'm working on pulling the energy out of her brain, she starts sobbing. And she's like, oh my God, this is the first time I don't hate my dad. And I'm like, fantastic. I said, now can I give you love for him? And she went through her whole thing of years and this is never going to happen. And, you're pushing your luck. And so 2 minutes later, again, she's sobbing and she said, I finally understand. And so she went through this whole thing of just kind of releasing. I mean, her crying was releasing the energy. She was ready for it. So 7 years later, she's still on Facebook. She emails me and said, I wrote a book about the angels healing me. I am now cancer-free and I'm completely healthy. And I actually have a relationship with my dad. Wow. And she sent me the book. And I get chills just thinking about that. That's and she wasn't even my client. So that was one of the miraculous things.
Well, she became your client. As soon as she said yes to that healing, she became a client. That's amazing. And that is a lot of what we go through as healers with people, is their anger and their resistance. And so what I was thinking of, even when I asked you that question, was, there is always that active, to me, there's always that active participant, because even if you come in completely ready to release and you're not doing anything, you've already come in prepared as yourself. You were like, I am prepared to release. I'm not going to give you any resistance. Let's just do this.
Yes.
Is still being an active participant, even if you didn't have to do anything, which is another thing I wanted to put out there, because I want to make this seem simple enough for people to go in and not be afraid of it if they've never experienced it before,
Completely.
Like, you can just lay there and just decide you're not going to be in resistance to the healing, and that's it. That's all you got to do. And you can enjoy, the energy and enjoy the feeling and see what happens and see what healing comes up. But just for people out there who might think this is a little scary, maybe that'll take away your fear from you, so that you will go and get a healing if you need it, if you're called to do so.
Yes.
Anything else you want to add to this conversation?
I just say that the people that are ready, and when you're really truly ready, the healer comes, whatever it is, right? Whatever person you choose, when you are ready, you will find the person to help you heal. And so that's part of it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank you for being here today.
Thanks for having me. This is fun.
You're welcome. And that is the end of today's episode. So tomorrow there's going to be another episode. It's going to be on health and healing, but it's going to be with somebody completely different and a completely different topic on how we can heal, because there's more than one ways to get the results that you want. So tune in tomorrow, same time, same place, and I'll see you then. Bye.